Hey there, Alex here, and today we have our special guest, Georgia.
Hello, everyone.
We've been planning to talk about of mice and men today.
Yeah, mainly nature versus nurture, the theme.
Yeah, we also created a presentation so it's easier to understand. It will be in the description below. You should check it out.
Let's start.
Nature and nurture coexist together and compete in this book. Steinbeck shows how inherent traits as well as environmental influences shape human behavior and identity.
True, the theme is developing throughout the whole novel.
That's right. We learn more about it through characters and description of them, their behavior and actions.
He uses different literary techniques to show it.
Well, yeah, however, we'll explain those later. And as I was saying, we learn more about nurture during the book. We see how harsh time affects people and how they act. Not only environmental influence, but also social influence builds up their characters.
What about nature?
Nature is something you can change. It's like default settings without other options, you know? The clearest example of it is Lenny, where we can see how his childlike mental state overpowers every other aspect of his character. In the very end of the book, despite George's efforts to guide Lenny and protect him, his nature wins. His nature couldn't exist with nurture of others. He gets a bullet straight in his head, dying happily with an unbending character, which indicates how humans' nature is immune to humans' nurture.
So, overall, Steinbeck highlights the limits of nurture over nature. Tension between these two forces leave readers with an impossible question to answer about human destiny and their significance. Steinbeck wanted to put nature versus nurture theme as a conflict so we can see their development in the process and the winner at the end.
Is there anything peculiar about the text type? How does Steinbeck show it?
He shows it through a lot of literary techniques that help us see the tension and differences between nature versus nurture.
Oh, yeah, you mentioned it before literary techniques. What exact literary techniques does Steinbeck use to represent this theme?
First of all, he uses characterization. When creating the character Lenny, he made his character soft and innocent, but made George harsh and protective, almost two opposite characters.
Yeah, isn't it also like symbolism?
Yes. These things may also be connected to symbolism Steinbeck creates. Lenny symbolizes the theme of nature with his uncontrollable body and always doing what is in his nature.
Yeah, for example, he likes to pet soft things, and his natural instinct is to hold them for as long as possible. Red dress and the mouse at the beginning, puppy, curl his wife's hair, which then later creates issues.
Exactly. But in contrast to Lenny, George symbolizes nurture. Because of Lenny's mental disability, George has to be the one who takes care of them. He cannot just follow his instincts. He provides a moral and practical framework showing the potential for environmental factors to shape Lenny's behavior.
Are there any other literary techniques that perhaps help us see some differences between nature and nurture?
Of course, other important literary techniques are dialogue and repetition.
Dialogues, repetition.
Through the characters' conversations and repeated phrases or actions, Steinbeck highlights the tension between nature and nurture. For example, George's way of speaking to Lenny. George speaks to his friend in a more parental, nurturing way due to Lenny's bad understanding of basic human things. Lenny's speech is a more natural way, almost always speaking like a child, unrevealed to the real world. He always repeats things, for example, tending the rabbits, while George repeats his part of the conversation in his parental style. And lastly,
There's even more.
Steinbeck uses similes and metaphors. These literary techniques are most often used when Lenny was being described with his bare paws or as strong as a bull, pointing at his natural, strong, uncontrollable body.
Okay, so the literary techniques Steinbeck uses to help us understand nature versus nurture are characterization, symbolism, dialogues, repetition, and metaphors.
What similes?
Yeah, of course. So basically, can we see this theme only through literary techniques?
A moment. Oh yes, do you remember the first and last chapter's openings?
Yeah, the Danic place with the Gabilan Mountains.
Well, if you deep dived into the last chapter, you would focus on the little water snake.
Oh, now I remember. The heron then flew by and plucked his head off. So this moment represents nature. And why is it important?
It's important because the theme points out what happens in nature. Someone's the predator, someone's the prey. Just like on the ranch, Lenny, who hasn't done anything bad to anyone intentionally, except for Curly's hand, is the prey, and the harsh migrant worker's life is the predator.
And what about nurture? Are there any specific moments?
Ah, that's simple. A perfect moment is when Slim tells George they come to a ranch and work up a steak and then they go into town and blow their steak. Which is basically when Slim is explaining to George how the men go and spend their $50 at Susie's place. And it points out how the environment shapes their actions and desires.
Yeah, and this is why so many men didn't achieve the American dream.
Most of them, yes. But while we're at it, there's one more person shaped by the environment. Guess who?
Carson, does he represent nurture as well as George does?
Well, Carlson is a perfect example of a worker shaped by nurture. He doesn't really act on his instincts, but rather represents the stereotypical Dust Bowl migrant worker who only focuses on his job and doesn't care about small issues.
I thought only George symbolizes nurture.
He does, but only in contrast to Lenny. However, George is a great character for the description of nature. When he is with Lenny, he has this protectiveness over him. It is natural for him to protect and defend Lenny even on the ranch with the other men. These traits are not something society taught him, but turned out to be in his nature.
Yeah, I can see that. I didn't think this theme would go that deep.
Me too, but why is this theme even significant in this book? Just simply because it helps us to deeper understand the Of Mice and Men message?
In short, yes, we understand more about characters' behavior, actions, their fates, as well as Steinbeck's social message about the struggles of marginalized individuals. Readers see how these two sides underscore the novel's exploration of loneliness, dreams, and the human condition. To summarize, nature's immutability highlights the tragic inevitability in Lenny's story, emphasizing that some aspects of life are beyond human control. In this novel, from the beginning, despite George's efforts, Lenny's fate was already decided. As you said, the novel opens and ends in the same place, with unchanged natural settings that remain the same no matter what events happen in the book.
Even though his fate was decided, George's care provided him with hope, some stability, and allowed him to dream. Nurture offers a sense of purpose.
Nurture, on the other hand, can change over time.
Time changes, people change. We can see it in the book.
Yeah, for instance, Candy and his dog.
What about them?
Candy's emotional attachment to his dog illustrates how nurturing bonds can sustain hope and meaning. But when the dog is killed, Candy is left adrift. He changed, realizing that he will soon become useless. Perhaps another example?
Curly's wife's loneliness. Her behavior and desires are shaped by the lack of relationships in her life. So wouldn't her seek for attention change if she gets out of the ranch and finds someone but Curly?
I mean, probably yeah, but we don't know it. But I thought of George and Lenny's dream.
Oh, how it started to look different for them.
More about how they started to look different at it. At the beginning, it looks just like an unachievable dream, then more like a near future, and in the end, when Lenny passed, I doubted that George would do it. His character probably changed, and his desires probably changed as well.
So, is everyone's destiny already decided? That's the truth?
I think nobody but Steinbeck knows. It's his book. He's the one who creates their future. However, in real life, perhaps nobody will ever know. In my opinion, that is the question Steinbeck wanted us to ask ourselves. In this way, Steinbeck emphasizes the importance of empathy and human connection. Even in a world where individual fates are shaped by forces as unchangeable as nature itself. The theme ultimately reflects a bittersweet truth. While nurture can offer hope and transformation, it is often powerless against the unrelenting forces of nature.
Like the title of the novel suggests, Are we even important in comparison with nature?
Yeah, I believe that is one of the messages of my cinema book. And at this moment, I think that is for today.
Thank you for watching this video.
Like and subscribe to our channel, and we will see you next time.
Bye bye.